Welcome to the Money to the Masses podcast, putting you in control of your finances. It's a good thing podcasts are free, as this one isn't worth a penny. Here are your hosts, Damien Fay and Andy Leakes.
Now, Damien, before we get on with this week's podcast, you had something quickly to say about our sponsors.
Yeah, we've got a new sponsor, Money Farm, and Money Farm are an online investment advisor and one of the biggest digital wealth management companies in Europe. So a big thank you to them for sponsoring the podcast. Now, Money Farm create portfolios to maximise long-term returns using ETFs to make incredibly cheap portfolios. And you even get the first £10,000 of your portfolio invested without any charge from Money Farm. And if you enter the code MTTM20K into the box when you sign up, you get the first £20,000 of your portfolio invested and run by moneyfarm.com without any charge.
Great stuff. On with this week's show. Hello and welcome to episode 112 of the Money to the Masses podcast with your resident expert, as always, Damien Fay and me, Andy Leakes. Damien, how you doing?
I'm good, Andy. It's good to be back as ever. How's your week been?
It's been a while, although, do you know, I felt absolutely fine before I came onto the pod. Now I realise that I sound a little bit croaky, but I actually feel all right. I'm not ill, so apologies for the croaky voice. I can hear it now.
Oh, well, never mind, Andy. As long as you're not feeling unwell.
Yeah, so anyway, I don't care about me. How was your week?
No, it's been good. I felt I had a bit of a jump the shark moment this week. I don't know if you know what I mean when I say jump the shark.
Jump the shark? I've heard that phrase somewhere. You're going to have to explain what it means.
Jump the shark, apparently it means... do you remember the Fonz in Happy Days? There was an episode in one of the later series in there where the Fonz... I think he was water skiing or something, and he ended up jumping a shark that tried to eat him. Okay. And it was actually seen as a pivotal moment, at which point the programme just descended.
Yeah, okay.
It just collapsed. And it became known as to jump the shark.
Yeah, I mean, I struggled to believe that he could hit that jukebox and actually make his favourite song play every time. But yeah, to jump in the shark is that one bit too far.
Yeah, it's when things can either be... I've heard two different ways of interpreting it. Some people just think you've peaked at that point and it's all downhill after that. Or other ones are that things just become completely ludicrous after that. But I'm taking it from the point of actually peaking because... it happened yesterday, but you know, I talk about the chat function on our website, you know, the messenger, where people can go on and talk to me, and they might ask a question about 80/20 investor or something similar. And there was a guy came on and he was asking me about 80/20 investor and various bits and pieces about SIPs and pensions. And what he didn't know, because obviously it's a messenger and he can't see, that I was basically almost elbow deep in the world's dirtiest nappy for changing my daughter, and I was doing it one-handed while on a phone messaging back. So I think I jumped the shark because I don't think I'll ever be able to how many people in the world has ever managed to change a dirty nappy without getting it completely everywhere, multitask, as apparently us men can't, and still help somebody out with their money? So I think it's all downhill from there, Andy. But yeah, there's a bit of insight into the world of Damien Fay.
Good. No, impressive stuff, Damien. I have to say, I have to have all hands on deck. In fact, I don't just need my own two hands. I need at least 3 or 4 other hands to change a nappy too, because I'm the world's worst nappy changer. So kudos.
Well, don't get me wrong. When I turned around, my daughter had a nappy on her head, and there was
yeah.
and there were nappy bags everywhere. Well, that's what normally happens. But yeah, I sat there and afterwards I felt pretty pleased with myself. But then I thought, has this all gone a bit too far? Where I'm, my poor daughter's laying there, needed a nappy change, and I'm doing money to the masses stuff. But there you go.
Well, as we're here doing the money stuff, should we chat about what we've got coming up on this week's show?
Yeah, we got 3 pieces actually. One of them's about pricing. Now I'm gonna do it. It's a quick piece around the idea of how your cookie or search history can cost you money. The second piece I'm going to do is, interestingly, I've done this for 2 newspapers this week. One this week came with the same story. So I feel like I should be telling the listeners out there about the advice on how to make some money ahead of Christmas. So it doesn't have to be Christmas, it could be anything. So if you're listening to this in the future and it's not Christmas, it doesn't matter. This is how to make a quick buck in a fairly short space of time. And the third one, it was actually, I was asked by somebody who wanted to know what was the first thing I look at when it comes to investing. So if I sit down and going to look at something to do with investing or 80-20 investor, whatever it is, what do I look at? Where do I go? What website or whatever it was? And I thought I'd just chuck that out there.
Okay, what are we going to start with?
Why have you got a smirk on your face, Andy?
I was just thinking of the first thing that you look at when you sit down at your laptop, and I thought, I don't want to know, really.
Yeah, nobody else could see Andy there. I could see the smirk of mischievousness that came across Andy's face.
Trying to keep it professional as always. Yeah. That's the thing about this being an audio medium. I can sometimes get away with the odd smirk or...
What, sitting in your pants, you mean?
Yes, don't let the cat out of the bag. Actually, talking of cat out of the bag, I best just tuck that in. Right,
That just ruined me. Right, okay. Right, let's talk about... Right. I've got to compose... Right, sorry.
The thing is, you've got that vision now.
Yeah, I know. I have to admit, Andy is not sitting naked, but it was the look on his face when he said it. Right, I've got tears streaming down my face. I can't keep it together.
As the editor, can I just check whether that's staying in or not? Because I need to know.
It may as well stay in, Andy, to be honest with you. At least people realise we have personalities. So, pricing. What I want to talk about, the first piece, was pricing and how your cookie history on your laptop or computer can actually cost you money. Now, one of the things that can happen when you go online and browse is that websites place cookies on your computer. Do you remember the annoying message that comes up about we use cookies, blah, 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 and all this sort of thing, which most people think doesn't really do a lot. But apparently they are being used increasingly so in something that's called personalised pricing, or you might hear it called differential pricing. Okay, now we're using terms here, but that's also different to dynamic pricing. Now, dynamic pricing, I'll give you an example of that, yeah? That is something like Uber, whereby if there's a peak in demand, then they will charge you more. So that's dynamic because it's all about supply and demand.
Right.
Where personalised pricing comes in is where companies actually try and charge you more based on the idea or the assumption that they think you are more desperate at that point in time and therefore more likely to pay more money for the same product without any extra value. So there has been evidence. Now, if you ask most companies out there, they will all deny they do it. And it's very hard to prove that it exists, but there have been examples where people have found out that it does. Journalists, for example, have discovered that one of the biggest places that you see it, and I've heard it before, is on airlines. So, an example that happened whereby somebody was looking on a website I won't name the airline, but they were looking on an airline's website for a particular plane because they were planning to go back for Christmas to see their family, and they hadn't bought it. They were just keeping an eye on the prices. So they were monitoring the prices and going back every now and then. But the thing is, the websites know you've done that because the cookies have been placed on your computer. And so they start to change the pricing or personalise the pricing based on the idea that this person keeps coming back. They do really want this flight. They are desperate to go, but they're keeping an idea on the price. And the closer we get, there's going to be a point where they're going to just buy it no matter what because they are desperate. So they start increasing the prices. And if you go and clear your cookies, now this is where the tip comes in, you can actually see sometimes that pricing will reset because you've got no cookies on your computer and you're treated as a new person.
Wow.
And there's been examples where people have gone in and flights have gone up by hundreds of pounds. They've cleared their cookies on their computer and then they've gone back to the site and the price has dropped, which I think is disgraceful. But this is the idea of differential pricing. Now, in America, the regulators allow them to do this. It seems to be the done thing. So if you speak to the companies, no one admits they do it, but it clearly goes on, particularly in airlines. So the tip is to maybe clear your cookies or run a browser in incognito mode if you're if you're just browsing on prices. And now, if people don't know how to clear their cookies, they just normally go up into the settings on their browser, and one of the options will be to clear all their cookies. It will clear all your...
I would say most men in the UK are absolutely 100% aware of how to clear their cookies. I would say that's the first thing they learned when they got a new device.
So most men out there can clear their cookies. Let's just hope we're going to educate the opposite sex, the fairer sex, of how to clear their cookies. So do that. People might try and argue that this idea of differential pricing is actually a bit of the Robin Hood, from stealing from the rich and giving it to the poor, because if they feel that you can afford it and you're actually more likely to pay more money, then you'll pay, and that somehow subsidises it for everybody else. And there's been evidence that in America that they've actually got to the point where they work out where people live and actually live in affluent areas and charge them more just because they think they can afford it. And again, that's something that is personalised pricing, which I'm not sure everybody agrees with. But there's been claims made against Uber, who can, because it's not just on your computers, it can be on your devices as well, where they can actually take more information than just about your location. And one of the examples is they can take information around your battery life, how much charge you've got left on your battery. Now, you and I know,
Wow, okay.
if you were standing there and you need a taxi, you are going to pay pretty much anything for a taxi, because your battery is going to run out probably in the next 5 minutes, and you just need to get over the line. And while they admit that information is available to them, they deny that they use it, but other people have tried to suggest they do. So I have no evidence. I'm not saying that they do, but this is the sort of information when you have cookies or whatever that's passed back to an operator of some kind, that the information they get is not just about what you enter. It can be more about what's going on your computer or laptop, so they can therefore price accordingly. So the message is, if you think you're going to be caught by personalised pricing, then clear those cookies.
Okay, so making money. You said before that this isn't specifically to do with Christmas, but obviously it's coming up to Christmas and some people might be wanting to make a few extra bucks, but it can be done all year round. Making money. What are we talking about here?
Right, making money. Now, the idea behind this piece was quick ways, and you could have some easy wins in terms of making money in time for Christmas. Now, by the time you listen to this podcast, you're probably going to not have much time to actually make that much money. But what you can do is some of this stuff you'll actually end up getting the benefit and the money probably after Christmas. So it may mean that you end up spending on a 0% purchase credit card first, and then you clear the bill afterwards. But the premise is still the same. So the first one I would chuck out there is there are still some great bank account switching offers. So you go from one current account to another current account. Now, First Direct, as always, I don't mind mentioning them on the podcast because they're always doing an offer that's typically £100 to switch, and then they give you another £100 if you're not happy after 6 months. So go and look. I run a page on the website on Money to the Masses that has switching offers on there. And there are a few good ones at the moment. The switch normally takes about 7 working days, and it's meant to be guaranteed under the new switching scheme that your direct debits will be moved across, etc., and you won't lose out in monetary terms. So you can have an easy win. Now, the only thing I would say is sometimes the amount of money that you get will take a while to come through, so you won't get it necessarily in 1 week or 2 weeks. It could take a little while to actually hit your bank account. And also be mindful of the terms and conditions when you look at them, these deals, because some of them stipulate you have to pay in minimums a month. So, for example, First Direct was £1,000 a month, and then so if you're paying your wage in, then that's fine, and you can pay £1,000 a month, and you get that £100 initial bonus. Marks and Spencer's do a good switching offer where they give you a gift card, so that actually might come in time for Christmas or otherwise, and there is no minimum payment. So have a look around. So if you listen to this podcast in the future, have a look at First Direct. They always have an offer on. Marks and Spencer do this particular offer quite regularly, and are even doing an additional part where they will do a top up if you do put a minimum amount. I mean, there's no point me mentioning that exactly at the moment because it may change, but they will actually give you more than that £100. So that's a good one. Have a look at switching bank accounts if you've not done it for a while. It will probably take you about 7 working days. You'll get some money. The other thing to do is look at Zeek. So Zeek.me is a voucher site whereby you can buy and sell unwanted vouchers and to make your money go further, which is a great idea. So if you're going to buy vouchers for people, you get them at a discount. If you get ones you don't like after Christmas, you can sell them. The online surveys is another one. There's surveys.co.uk, Swagbucks, Ipsos. They're 3 sites that do it. But remember, you shouldn't pay to become a member of any of these sites. They should be free. If you have to pay, then don't bother. The other thing is you could sell stuff, and everyone thinks eBay to flog those gifts or whatever you don't want. But there are sites like sellmymobile.com where you can sell an iPhone 5S for £100. So if you've got one sitting around a drawer, then sell it on there. You'll get some money. Music Magpie is a usual one where you can sell unwanted CDs and games. WeBuyBooks.co.uk, where you can sell books and get cash, but they are a bit picky. So you need to, if you go on their website, you have to put in the ISBN number, and they can tell you how much they'll pay. The other one, Switch Energy Supplier. Now, Money Supermarket often have some good deals in terms of cashback offers on there. So therefore, if you switch, not only could you save money, but you could end up getting a cashback offer. And I did it a couple of years ago, and it took a few weeks for the money to come through, but it does come through. I know a lot of people are probably suspicious of these offers, but they do come through. You just need to make sure you check your account, because you don't get anything that sort of a ta-da, here's your money. You just need to make sure it actually arrives. Some of the others that are a little bit more long-standing, you could check if you've got a lost current account or pension that's floating around out there, because when you move jobs, people or houses, people often lose correspondence and don't realise they've still got these things. So there is an official site where you can go to mylostaccount.org.uk, where you can search for any lost accounts, so therefore you could have a bit of a windfall, but it will take about 3 months, so you're not going to have it in time for Christmas, but it's worth thinking about. Other crazy ideas, you can rent things, so your driveway, if you live near a train station or a town centre, parkonmydrive.com, you can rent your room, like something like Airbnb. The other 2 things I would say is always check to see if you're entitled to any benefits of any kind. There's a official website called Entitled To is the tool, which tells you what you're entitled to, and hence the name. And last but no means least, actually no, this isn't last, there's 2 here. Check if you're eligible for a PPI refund. Now,
time's running out.
That's one that what everyone should do. It's time is running out. There isn't a time limit at the moment, but there will be at some point. They're going to end up calling time on this. So check if you've got a PPI refund, so you can get in contact with the company you think may have charged you for PPI in the past. And the last one, which I've not personally done, so I can't recommend it, but I know a lot of money bloggers who have done this and do recommend it, is matched betting. Now, it's an idea of, if you look at, do you know when you're sitting there watching telly and one of these annoying ads come up, which they do an offer on a football match you're going to watch, and they're going to give you a particularly brilliant deal, some sort of money back if your bet loses or whatever it is. And if you can in fact combine some of those offers with other offers from other people. So by that I mean that 2 different places could actually be offering some incentives or offers on the same game that in effect cancel each other out if you place bets with both bookies, or the various different other offers and introductions. So it's called match betting because the idea is that you're meant to match certain offers, so there's no risk. So actually at the end of the day, if your horse wins or loses, or the team wins or loses, or whatever the outcome is that you're betting on, it's actually led by the offers rather than the event itself or what you think, and there's a possibility to actually not lose money. And now, the only reason I mention it because I know there are people who do it, and some people will make hundreds, some people even make thousands on it. So I think in time though, realistically what will happen is that if you keep doing it, you can, I know people who've done it for a year, a couple of years making money on it, but what can happen is that the bookies work out that you're just using the offers and probably doing this, and so nothing wrong with that because you're entitled to, but they might start to reduce your access to some of the offers. So over time you have less bookies to actually place those bets with that give you offers anyway. So it's an idea. I'm not recommending it. Money Saving Expert actually run part of their website where people talk about match betting, and so it's not, I've not done it. If you're not into gambling, then probably steer clear, because I think it could be a dark path for some people if they don't have any self-control. But I thought I'd mention it.
Good, okay. The last one was on the investing, and I remember you saying that somebody asked you what was your first sort of thing that you do when you sit down at your laptop. terms of investing? Yeah. What do you go for first?
Right, this is just something to throw out there to people that I suppose the first thing I try and do is get a steer for where markets have gone. Okay, I know I don't day trade, and I don't particularly recommend people do unless they're really into it, and they've got the knowledge. But
could you just explain what day trading is, just for the mere mortals like me who've got no idea what it is?
Well, if you buy and sell shares from minute to minute, day to day, so that's what people mean by day trading. So if you're going on there and you're going to go buy shares in FTSE 100 companies, and then when they go up a bit, you sell them, you basically work like a trader. I mean, the idea of the internet has actually democratized that process, so it's no longer just investment banks that have traders. Anybody can do it, but it takes money, it takes a lot of time, and there's a lot of risks because you could get a call completely wrong and lose all your money. So I'm more of a person who invests via funds, and the way that most DIY investors do is to buy a fund which is run by a fund manager who might have 50 to 100 shares in that particular fund, and I'll have a whole bunch of those in a portfolio. An 80-20 investor teaches people how to pick those funds. But of course, that's quite a complex area to see where how the markets are going, because you can see how your portfolio may be doing, but actually at the moment markets are quite fluid and they're moving quite a bit. And while you shouldn't obsess about it, I think that it's a good steer just to have a look to see whether your portfolio might be up or down, because don't forget, funds are priced on a daily basis, so they're not like shares where you can see the share price at a given point in time. If you want to get a rough steer of where they're going to end up on a day, I tend to have a look at the currency positions, which seems a little bit odd, because at the moment currency has had a massive influence on our return. So what people normally do is look at the FTSE 100 and think that's gone up, or they might look at some of these stock indices around the world and think they've gone up or down. Now they are that is I do that as well, but the one thing now, since Brexit, since Donald Trump's come in, there's lots of and the problems in Europe. There's currency is having a bigger sway and influence on our returns, and probably will do for quite some time, because with different policies that are sort of protectionist, where countries are trying to devalue their currencies or limit their trade with other people, basically look after their own, it means that these currency differentials will be exaggerated, and some countries are being accused of deliberately devaluing their currencies. So in simple terms, if you own a stock market that's abroad, so if you own a fund that invests in America, and of course that fund and those assets are going to be denominated in dollars, if the pound suddenly falls, then when you convert back that asset into pounds, you'll have made money. But equally, you could have the stock market in America jump 0.5%, 1% in a day, but if the pound strengthens by 2% in a day, and these are sort of fairly large moves, then actually you can be down on the deal, because when you convert it back, those dollars now buy less pounds. So the pound to the euro, pound to the dollar, and pound to the yen are three that I always look at, just to see whether the pound's strengthening or weakening, because if you've got any global exposure, that's probably going to have a bigger impact on your returns, and certainly has in 2016, more than a lot of the other pure stock market moves. And also, the other quick thing I just want to add is that even if you only own domestic stuff, so like the FTSE 100, you may think the pound has no influence on what's going to happen to that stock market index. Well, it does, because most of the earnings are from abroad and actually in dollar terms, and so therefore when the pound tends to weaken, then that's good for the FTSE 100. So, and the opposite is true. So it's not just a simple case that you don't own things abroad, but currency is having a bigger influence. So I start to look at the moment to see what the currency is doing, if there's any big swings, and then over time if there's any sort of general trend that's going on, because if the pound is falling through the floor, then it actually pays to own things abroad, and that's a sort of a very high level. I look at the stock markets, but I also keep an eye on what those currencies are doing, because for most people they will never look at currency moves because they don't realise it impacts them, but it seems to be having a larger and larger impact going forwards. And in a world where we are slightly we don't seem to be coming together as a unit, we seem to be fragmenting.
Yeah.
And the more we fragment as sort of collective block, whether that's Europe or as a sort of trade unions, then it seems the currency differentials start to become more and more exaggerated, and political risk is often reflected in currency moves. So if there's some upheaval like Brexit, in a political upheaval, then that is often reflected in currencies far quicker than it is in the stock market. So you start to see those as kind of early warning signals and also just general trends. So there you go. That's what I look at.
Good, interesting stuff. Anything else to mention before we go?
No, just keep looking out for the videos, the Ask Damien videos, which are doing very well, and share them on Facebook. Share everything we do. This podcast, we're pushing it out more on Facebook. So if you see it, please like it and please share it, because then we gain more influence, and then we can make the world of money a better place, can't we, Andy?
Yeah, great stuff. That would be really, really helpful if you could. Okay, I think we're done.
And of course, don't forget to leave reviews on iTunes, but most importantly, do share it. So share it around. Share the love, Andy.
Good. I'll see you on the other side, and we'll meet our dear listeners again in episode 113.
Yeah, until next time, Andy.
Bye-bye.
Don't forget to claim your free copy of Damien's best-selling book, The 30-Day Money Plan. Sort your finances in just 5 minutes a day, worth $4.99. Just go to moneytothemasses.com/podcast to find out how.